Hi guys, thanks for tuning into the channel. My name is Liz and I'm a reseller in Maryland. In today's video, it's a little bit different because I'm taking you with me to Paris. That's right, we're going to go check out two of the more hidden flea markets in Paris and see if we can find anything worth flipping for a profit. Let's go check them out. So my friend Justine and I decided that Monday morning we would go to the Montreuil flea market, which is to the east of the city. It's a little bit of a rougher area, but not dangerous, but just not as clean, not as touristy, more of the local traffic. There certainly were some more unsavory, it's a good word for France, because they're so good with their food and their flavors, characters around and about, but we did not have any problems in that regard. Now this was the first antique booth we found, and I cut out a bunch of footage that was all new items. It was like almost like a couponer's yard sale, if you know what I'm talking about. Like rows and rows of detergent and socks and flip-flops and new but inexpensive clothing. And that was not what we were looking for, but we did find one, I think there was only one, antique type booth in this entire huge flea market. Now you might still find fun gifts to bring home, souvenirs. You know, if you need an extra sweater and you want to get one inexpensively, this would be a great place to do it. Comfortable socks for walking, yeah. So we did enjoy exploring this booth, and there were some things I probably would have bought if we were not overseas. I didn't want to break that giant bowl, for example, not this wooden one, the one we first looked at. So we are looking at a bunch of different items. This owl was cool, but he was missing a lot of his enamel, and he's actually not a very high ticket item. Certainly if this were a flea market or a yard sale in the States where I could just, you know, throw stuff in my car, I would have bought things even like this little bird that I think was probably from like Bombay and Company. I'm almost positive because I'm telling my friend Justine that I bought one years ago for my parents as a gift. This box is really cool. So there were some things, I kind of wish I had bought that box actually, but there weren't that many vendors. So it was still a surprise. My advice to resellers would be probably don't save time in your schedule if you're not in Paris for a long time to go to this flea market. It seems that it has changed a lot over the years and is mostly new items frequented by locals who want a good deal. It's like an open air dollar store, Costco type situation. But we did admire some things. There were some porcelain pieces here. We had a good time. And there were a lot of owls at this particular booth, which I did like. It was crowded. I was surprised by how crowded it was, but again, I think the prices on those new items were really low. So I'm admiring this little shell piece, like a sculpture, I guess you might call it. So because of the way our trip was planned out, we were not really in Paris in a good position sleep-wise to attend the weekend flea markets. So there are weekend flea markets that you can attend, but this particular market is on Monday mornings. So if you're looking for something interesting, it could be interesting to you, and maybe there are usually more than one vintage reseller there selling. We did not have that experience. We did get lunch nearby at a corner cafe. And actually, I would say that the staff there was some of the friendliest staff that we met anywhere on our trip. So that was kind of fun. I was able to practice my French. I took French in high school, and I've been practicing religiously on Duolingo. And so it was fun to practice speaking with people. So you might want to sleep in on your Monday morning. Justine was a good sport and got up early with me to get over there. You might want to sleep in and save your energy for the Tuesday morning flea market, which is coming up. We had to do a lot of research to find out which flea markets were open on Mondays and Tuesdays. I was surprised. So you might want to do a little bit of research beyond what you're getting from us, the locations of the Monday and Tuesday flea markets, but I didn't find any others that were happening. So this is some kind of a finial that appears to be broken off of something else. If she had stood up by herself, I would have liked that better. Fun things to look at. Certainly you could bring home some souvenirs. Some of the things I liked were breakable, and so I did not pick them up. So you might want to skip the Montreuil flea market. Save your euros and your shut-eye for a different day. This was lovely. I actually wish I bought this as well. It's funny how that happens. I was sort of saving to see what we might find. And looking back, I can see that there were a few things I probably should have grabbed for myself. I think I'm telling Justine about a piece of pottery that my daughter made in the shape of a portrait. Justine's super fun to talk to, and she was a great traveling companion. Got up so early with me, at least 2 days in a row, so thanks for that, Justine. So we are off, speeding ahead in time to Tuesday morning. So I did see one other YouTuber, Laura Caldwell, went to this flea market. I had to do some sleuthing on one of her videos to find out where this flea market was. This allegedly is a secret flea market, but if you Google, I think it's Marche, it looks like Marche, Aligre, you will find it pretty easily, and it is on Tuesday mornings. It starts pretty early. We got there really early, and some of the vendors were not set up. In fact, most of them were not set up yet. So again, Justine got up early with me. Thanks, Justine. So some of the dealers were very organized, like this one, which usually means you're not going to find a hidden treasure, in my experience and opinion. I'm sure we all have stories where we did find a treasure in spite of that, but my experience is that you kind of want something a little messier. Justine and I are a little picky about our jewelry. We like very similar pieces to each other, and we didn't see a lot of things that stood out to us, but Justine did point out a really pretty turquoise and sterling bracelet inside this case. I don't deal in beads very much. I don't do well with them, and I don't know them well, but this particular vendor did have quite an assortment of unique pieces and some beaded necklaces. So we did take a look to see if there was anything that caught our fancy. She and I both have a lot of pieces we really love. I think I packed my jewelry first for this trip. That was the first top priority. So we were also waiting for some of the other dealers to get set up, so we checked out some of this art. It was actually in a lot of ways similar to what I might find at a flea market or an estate sale here, although I will say it did seem like they had more older pieces, which would make sense since the United States is not even close to as old as France, of course. And I think if you were a collector of antique photos, you could really do well at this flea market. There did seem to be quite a few prints, not as much original art as I would have hoped, or at least not as many original art pieces that I happen to be drawn to personally, but there were a few. Again, due to space constraints, unfortunately, I didn't really want to take glass or large or heavy items home, so that dictated our shopping experience for both of us. So we actually didn't really talk to that many dealers. They were kind of swamped by other shoppers, and also they were still unpacking. But we really enjoyed looking through all these different art pieces, and I thought that in general the frames were more ornate and special than you might see here. Maybe not on this piece, but on some of the pieces you would see gilding or carvings. They were definitely unique. So I liked that a lot. There were a lot of dealers with art. There were a lot with books, which I didn't buy any because they were all in French. And I didn't think my market here in the States on Etsy or locally would want French books. since most of the buyers I know speak English most fluently. So you can see this looks a lot like a flea market we might have. We did spend quite a bit of time looking at all the little tchotchkes, and Justine has an affinity for spiders and insects, so I'm pointing out this brass spider to her. It was pretty cool. Oh, wait, and now look, some kind of beetle. And it's an ashtray. I guess it could be a trinket box. I'm gonna call it an ashtray. And then there was a jewelry dealer who had like a lot of kind of trashy jewelry, which could be a good thing, but in this case, almost every single thing was damaged, broken, missing its partner. And so we looked for quite a bit, but did not do great. So that would have been good for a crafter. So if you like crafting, and I suppose you could upcycle something. Like if you only found one earring, but you loved it and you're crafty, you could make it into a like a pendant or a brooch or something like that. So that would work out okay too. But I'm not crafty that way, so I didn't do anything like that. Justine this beautiful little mortar and pestle with a cicada, which is very well known in France. And I told her that if I were buying her a gift, I would buy it for her. But she definitely liked it a lot. But we decided not to buy that little item. But I do have one of those cicadas. I believe they hang them over doorways for good luck, something like that. I know I used to know the history of this. But anyway, so here's more of this sort of crafty jewelry. I just had high hopes because I feel like in the States, when I see this type of jewelry, I do find more wearable pieces. It was still fun to look. You know how shopping is. Still fun, even if you don't find exactly what you're hoping to. So again, we have some, this I think was an original piece of art. Beautiful, a little bit big for the bag I brought for souvenirs and such. So if you are going to shop the flea markets, bring a really big second suitcase. I think it costs $100 on a coach or economy ticket to bring it back, but I feel like it's worth it. And maybe like put a bunch of bubble wrap in it or something like that. I put newspapers that I could read, antique journals in mine, so that if I decided not to use them, I could easily recycle them and I wouldn't have to like throw away bubble wrap, but you could do either thing. Or some people use their laundry to wrap up their treasures. That has never worked out well for me, but I suppose you could also do that if you don't want to bring newspaper or bubble wrap and think that far ahead. So you could make this into a pendant with just a jump ring or something like that. Is that the right name for it? Leave me a comment. I do not make jewelry, although I often wish that I did. So again, we're just trying to see what types of things, you do see a lot of things from other European countries, but then you might see something, I love this, if you look to my right slightly, there's a weather forecaster that I find and sell. There it is to the right. I sell those very frequently in the States. So you might find a broader range of items from around the world, as well as older items. Just make sure you're prepared to pack them to bring them home. Look at the beautiful cobblestones. They're everywhere. So make sure you wear comfortable shoes because they can be slick and they can be uneven. Look at this guy's shoes. So I believe that this person put out more art and we wanted to check it out. I know Justine saw a few abstracts that she really liked the colorway of them. So we spent, I think that might be one of them right there. Yeah, those were different. I think they were student pieces. I don't think they were super sellable, but if you liked them, they'd be nice to have in your home. And I have the weakness for these like streetscapes, I guess is what you would call them. I actually just sold a piece with a similar style to this, a larger piece by what I would consider a professional artist, but that piece was very well done. And we're still trying to decide, like, you know, what are we getting? So, pardon the noise, there is a helicopter over the house right now. We live near a main road where there are often traffic accidents and the helicopters are pretty loud. So I apologize if you can hear that. So now we're looking more at like trinkets and glassware and ceramics to see if there's anything cool, something small that we can put in our suitcase. Look at the frames. If you wanted to come back with frames, you could definitely make a killing. I have at least one friend who would love that. I did not want to bring those glasses home. No matter what I had to wrap them in, I definitely didn't want to do that. But I was admiring this very small, I think it was an original piece, and I think it might have been pastel. Don't quote me on that because I can't remember. I can't see it that well now. It was either pastel or watercolor. I think I thought it was watercolor and we decided that it was a pastel. If you were like a button collector or something like that, there were tons of buttons. I have a lot of buttons right now, so I did not invest in more. Vendor had a lot of jewelry, and at first I thought, oh, this ring is so unusual, and then when we started looking, we realized that he actually had mass quantities of very similar items, and we were almost fooled by that sort of like, oh my gosh, such a unique ring I found in the heart of Paris. But no, it was not unique. He had a bunch of them that were almost identical and probably inexpensively made. Technically, they might have been vintage, but they weren't super high quality. And there's just something about it when you see like 10 of the same ring. It's not as much fun. It doesn't feel special. I think at this point we were kind of looking for ourselves only and not as a reselling pair. Justine has a great eye. Even though she's not a reseller, she has a great eye and would be very welcome to be my partner in crime anytime. Maybe I'm her partner in crime. We did not commit any crimes. Maybe jaywalking. So this dealer was very organized. His items were clean and set up beautifully. And often when I see display cases, which you'll see, I know I'm in trouble. Sorry, Dad. I know you have a display case. But it only means that this is going to be a more savvy dealer. They're protecting their items. They're putting a level of security. It's unlikely that you're going to find some piece of, I don't know, George Jensen sterling from the 1960s at a decent price, at least not a reseller's price. Maybe a take it home for yourself price. But it was a really beautiful layout, so I decided to capture it and share it with you guys regardless. So we did spend a few minutes looking to see what he had in there, and I apologize for the glare. I'm not able to see what the GoPro camera is seeing, not very easily without contorting myself strangely. And so with my eyes, that glare was not a problem. So this, I believe, was actually a print. Right now I'm still not 100% sure, but I'm almost positive it was one of, I call it a cardboard print, but it's like they printed on cardboard, or they glue a print on top of cardboard. And sometimes the texture of the cardboard looks like there's texture to the paint, which makes it seem original. I don't think so. And again, if you liked that image, that's fine if you want to print. I prefer to sell originals because they bring higher prices. Look at how shiny this stuff is. I don't think this was sterling, but boy, it sure looked like it, and it was very nicely polished, very well presented, if you will. So he did have a lot of metals. You know, he had the jewelry, he's got the flatware, he had a few brass pieces on this table. Not big sellers. I don't sell a lot of hand mirrors anymore, so I don't pick up that many of them. I do pick them up if they're sterling, but I can't say they sell well. I sell one about every 5 to 10 years probably. Sorry, we were trying to decide which direction to go, as you can see. I guess that's how it is at flea markets. Gives you a more authentic sense of it. Oh, there's a beautiful brass frame there, very ornate. I do see those in the States, and you can pick those up at estate sales quite frequently. You see like a copper piece of art there. I can't remember what they call that when you press the copper from the back. If you know, will you leave me a comment? I'm sure one of you is more resourceful than I and will remember to look it up. And what trip to France would be complete without a set of copper pots or pans? I did decide to take a look at those. They were beautiful. But look at all these little trinkets. So you can tell a lot about copper pans if you take a closer look at them. They sometimes will be marked on the bottom, but they're often marked where the handle attaches to the pan, which is what I'm telling Justine. I'm also talking to her about the shape of the brass like handle attachment and what types of, I don't even know what you would call it, not nails, how they attach the handle. And I don't know all those things by heart, which is something I'm also telling Justine, but you can Google it and find out an approximate age for your pan and maybe even a maker. You might be able to attribute it to a certain maker. Now this one was marked made in France, I believe. That's usually a good thing for copper. I think the other set was more modern and probably not made in France. So we did spend quite a few minutes here, and we went to a cute cafe around the corner that seemed to be a locals cafe. It was near an open air type market. It wasn't fully open air. It was like in Baltimore we have what we call cross street market. It was a little bit like that. At first I thought it was for restaurant owners to shop at. Oh my gosh, I love old photos like this. And I had great coffee everywhere in France. You can get a latte, and they're better than the lattes anywhere else, if you ask me, except maybe Italy. I'm a big latte fan, but don't order a vanilla latte. You can't, actually. But surprisingly, they're so good that you don't need any sweetener. I know. I hope you guys enjoyed this flea market on Tuesdays at Allegre. Or Allegra. Sorry, I was thinking about Italy. While I didn't make any major scores on this trip to Paris, the trip was wildly successful in so many ways, and the City of Light provided us with treasures that will last a lifetime. Memories of food, views, art, history, and fashion will stay with us. And now I know I have to come back, because the secret to finding something is to never stop searching. I'll see you guys next time.